The sunset viewed from a Seattle high-rise was a beautiful signal that marked the end of the day for Emily Williams. She worked as a project manager at the technology company Initech Solutions, leading her team to numerous successes. Today, once again, she had successfully completed a contract renewal with a major client and received congratulations from her colleagues. On her office desk lay an interview article about her that had been published in an industry magazine. The article was titled, "Female Leader Shares Secrets of Success in the Technology Industry," and it detailed Emily's passion for her work and professional expertise. Her colleague Sarah walked by and pointed to the article with a smile. "Emily, you're in a magazine again. That's really amazing." "Thank you. But it's really the whole team's achievement," Emily replied modestly. She always valued teamwork and was respected by her subordinates. On Friday night, Emily headed to her family home in the suburbs. The monthly family dinner was a tradition started by her mother, Margaret. The single-family house, about a 30-minute drive away, was the place where Emily had grown up. When she opened the front door, delicious aromas wafted from the kitchen. "Emily, welcome home," her father Robert greeted her, looking up from his newspaper. The retired former banker had a gentle personality and often served as a mediator in the family. In the living room were her sister Jessica with her husband Michael and their 3-year-old daughter Emma. Jessica, with her beautifully curled blonde hair, always appeared with perfect makeup and clothing, maintaining a beauty that seemed like she had stepped out of a magazine. Michael was a lawyer working at a local law firm, and with his stable income and gentle personality, he was well liked by both parents. "Aunt Emily." Little Emma ran over and hugged her. Emily picked up her niece and kissed her cheek. Emma's innocent smile always warmed Emily's heart. On the dining table, Margaret had prepared roast beef and side dishes with great care. When the whole family was seated, Father said a simple prayer, and the meal began. "Jessica, can you show us Emma's new photos?" Margaret asked happily. Jessica took out her cell phone and began showing recently taken family photos. Photos of picnicking in the park, Michael giving Emma a piggyback ride, and the family of 3 smiling together. Every photo was perfect, like a symbol of a happy family. "What a wonderful family," Margaret murmured with emotion. Then she turned to Emily and added, "I wish Emily would get married soon and build such a happy family too." Emily stopped her fork and looked at her mother. "My work is fulfilling, and I'm satisfied with that right now. But work alone must be lonely, don't you think?" Jessica said in a sympathetic tone. "You're 35 now, so you should start thinking about it soon." "I'm perfectly happy being single," Emily answered quietly. Michael tried to change the subject. "Emily, how's work going? I heard you got promoted again recently." "Yes, I became the head of a new project. It's very rewarding." However, Margaret brought the conversation back. "But while career is important, the most important thing for a woman is family. Look at Jessica. She's a perfect mother and wife." Robert tried to gently restrain his wife, but Margaret continued. "I feel sorry for poor single Emily. Shall I introduce you to someone nice? A friend from church has a wonderful son." Emily took a deep breath. This conversation was a regular pattern that repeated every month. While the family acknowledged her professional success, they constantly viewed her unmarried status as problematic. No matter how fulfilling her life was, being single was seen as evidence of an incomplete life. After the meal, Emily washed dishes in the kitchen with her mother. Margaret spoke to her in a gentle tone. "Emily, I'm worried about you. You're always working hard alone." "Mom, I'm really fine. My work and friendships are fulfilling. But when you go home, there's no one there, right? Doesn't that feel lonely?" Emily was at a loss for an answer. True, she sometimes felt lonely. But it wasn't because she was single, it was from the sense of alienation of not being understood even within her family. Her values and life choices were constantly questioned, and being compared to Jessica's perfect family sometimes made her feel like she had no place to belong. On the way home, Emily quietly reflected in her car. She loved her family, but being with them made her feel as if she were defective. The large gap between her identity as a successful professional and the ideal woman her family wanted weighed heavily on her heart. On Monday morning, Emily was checking her emails while drinking coffee in the office as usual. The conversation from the weekend family dinner still lingered in her mind, but she was trying to refocus by concentrating on work. While reviewing the proposal for a new project, her colleague Sarah approached with an excited expression. "Emily, did you see Jessica's social media post? She seems to be planning a wonderful Hawaii trip." Emily looked up in surprise. "Hawaii trip?" Sarah showed her smartphone. Jessica's Instagram had a photo of a Hawaii resort hotel with the caption, "Planning a family trip. Dream vacation with Michael and Emma." Emily felt a small shock in her heart. Jessica hadn't mentioned anything about a family trip. During lunch break, Emily called her mother. "I heard Jessica is going on a Hawaii trip." "Oh, yes. She's planning to go for about a week at the beginning of next month. Michael gave it to her as a promotion celebration gift." "That's wonderful," Emily replied in a deliberately bright voice. "Is everyone going?" There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone. "We're going together too. Your father is looking forward to his first long vacation in a while." A heavy feeling spread through Emily's chest. "I see. Sounds fun. Emily, you're busy with work, aren't you? Besides, being single, you'll be fine on your own." Margaret's voice carried thoughtlessness, though without malice. After hanging up, Emily returned to her desk but couldn't concentrate. The fact that the entire family was planning a Hawaii trip and she alone was excluded weighed heavily on her. Because she was single, she wasn't invited. Because work kept her busy, she couldn't participate. These assumptions meant she wasn't even given a choice from the beginning. That night, Emily returned to her apartment and gazed out the window while drinking wine. Seattle's night view was beautiful, but her heart was complicated. She certainly had vacation days left and was financially comfortable. But her family never even considered her participation. That was what hurt the most. The next evening, Emily's cell phone rang. It was a call from Jessica. "Emily, good evening. I have a sudden request. Next Friday, the day we leave for Hawaii, could you come see us off at the airport?" Emily tightened her grip on the receiver. "See you off?" "Yes. Emma wants to see Aunt Emily, and we want to take commemorative photos at the airport. Plus, we have a lot of luggage and could use your help." Jessica's voice was bright, speaking as if it were the most natural thing. Emily was momentarily speechless. She couldn't believe the situation where she wasn't invited on the trip but was instead asked to carry luggage and see them off. "Everyone's going together, right?" Emily quietly confirmed. "Of course. Dad and Mom are coming too. It's a family trip with everyone. It'll be Emma's first time in Hawaii, so it'll surely be wonderful memories." Emily took a deep breath. "The whole family?" "Yes, that's right. Oh, of course your family too, but being single, participating alone would be boring, wouldn't it? And you're busy with work too." Jessica's words were innocent, but they felt like knives to Emily. Family yet not family. Included yet actually excluded. Emily had been suffering from this contradictory treatment for years. "Let's meet at the airport at 10 o'clock Friday morning. At the terminal entrance." After hanging up, Emily slumped onto the sofa. Why was she thinking of going to see them off? She could have refused. But Emma's face came to mind. Her niece was special to her. No matter how complicated her relationships with Jessica and her parents were, her love for Emma was pure. Thursday night, Emily was thinking about the next day's plans. She had already notified the company that she would take a morning off. Her colleagues said, seeing family off, what a kind sister, but Emily herself felt complicated. Before getting into bed, Emily looked at herself in the mirror. She was certainly a successful woman. But in front of her family, she was always treated as an incomplete being. Not married, no children, therefore not a full person. This perspective tormented her. Friday morning, Emily got up early and prepared herself. She headed to the airport in her usual business style, a navy blazer with gray pants. While driving, she somehow felt an uneasiness in her chest. It wasn't just a sense of alienation, but some other emotion. When she parked in the airport parking lot, Emily realized what that emotion was. It was a premonition. A feeling that something would happen today, that a life-changing event was waiting. But she couldn't tell whether it would be good or bad. At the terminal entrance, Emily waited for her family. The morning airport was bustling with many travelers. Happy families, couples, groups of friends. Everyone was smiling, waiting for departure. Only Emily stood alone, as the one seeing others off. At exactly 10 o'clock, Margaret and Robert appeared. They were pulling large suitcases and dressed in light travel clothes. "Emily, thank you. This really helps," Margaret greeted her. "Good morning, Dad, Mom." Robert looked at his daughter and smiled. "Thank you for taking time off work to see us off." A few minutes later, Jessica, Michael, and Emma arrived. Emma was carrying a small pink backpack and running around excitedly. "Aunt Emily." Emma hugged her. "Emma, you must be excited about Hawaii." Emily picked up her niece and smiled. Jessica pointed to the large luggage. "Emily, could you carry this to the check-in counter? It's heavy and difficult." Emily nodded. While the whole family headed to the check-in counter, she observed her surroundings. The movements of airport staff, the expressions of other travelers, information on the announcement boards. For some reason, everything seemed clearer than usual. The check-in procedure went smoothly. Emily carried the family's luggage while watching Jessica talk with the airline staff. Michael was holding Emma's hand and taking photos of the boarding passes. Robert and Margaret were excitedly talking about the trip. "Emily, thank you. This really helped." Jessica turned around and smiled. "There was so much luggage, I couldn't have managed alone." "You're welcome," Emily replied, but complex emotions swirled in her heart. Why was she here? Called to carry luggage and see off her family's happy departure. When check-in was completed, the family began walking toward the security checkpoint. Emily started to follow, but Jessica turned around. "Emily, wait a moment. Actually, I have one more request." Emily stopped. "What?" Jessica approached with a meaningful smile, pulling Emma's hand. "Could you watch Emma's stroller and luggage, and Emma herself for a bit?" "What?" Emily was confused. "What do you mean?" "We want to look around the duty-free shops for a while." "It's difficult with Emma around," Jessica explained as if it were natural. "About an hour, please." Emily looked at her sister in disbelief. "But I only came to see you off. I'm not a babysitter." "Well, but we're family, aren't we?" Jessica's voice took on a slight coldness. "Emma likes being with her aunt too." Margaret approached and joined the conversation. "Emily, please. Jessica and the others are leaving soon, so let them do a little last-minute shopping." "But, Mom," Emily tried to protest. "You weren't invited anyway, so at least be useful." Margaret's words struck Emily's heart like a whip. Robert cleared his throat awkwardly but said nothing. Michael was looking at his cell phone and not participating in the conversation. Jessica handed Emma's hand to Emily. "Thank you, babysitter," she said with a laugh. "Don't worry, we'll be back soon." Emily stood there stunned, holding her niece's small hand. Emma looked up at her mother anxiously. "Mama, where are you going?" "I'll be right back, Emma." "Stay with your aunt." Jessica patted Emma's head and walked toward the duty-free shops with the family. Emily was left alone with Emma and the stroller. In the airport noise, she tried to understand her situation. She had come to see them off, but somehow found herself pushed into a babysitter role. Moreover, her mother's words, "You weren't invited anyway, so be useful," pierced her chest. "I'm hungry," Emma said in a small voice. Emily knelt down to meet her niece's eye level. "Well then, let's buy something." While buying sandwiches at an airport cafe and eating with Emma, Emily thought about her life. Why was she always used by her family? Why couldn't she say no? And why didn't her family try to understand her feelings? An hour passed, but the family didn't return. Emily knew the boarding time was approaching, but she had no way to contact them. Emma was getting bored and starting to fuss. "Aunt Emily, when is Mama coming back?" "Soon," Emily answered gently, but inwardly she was irritated. 15 minutes before boarding began, the family finally appeared. Jessica was carrying large shopping bags and looked satisfied. "Thanks, Emily." Was Emma well behaved? "Yes, but boarding time is close." "Right, we need to hurry." Jessica picked up Emma. "Thank you, that really helped." The family rushed toward the boarding gate. Emily followed along, intending to give them a final send-off. However, near the boarding gate, an airline staff member stopped the family. "Excuse me, Mr. Montgomery," the staff member spoke politely. "We need to confirm something about your reservation." Jessica responded with a confused expression. "Is there a problem?" The staff member checked the list in his hand while answering. "No, there's no particular problem. However, there has been a change to your reservation." The staff member turned toward Emily. "Are you Emily Williams?" Emily answered in surprise. "Yes, I am." "I apologize. Your flight has been cancelled." The sounds in the airport terminal seemed to stop for a moment. Emily tried to understand the staff member's words. "My flight? But I only came to see them off." The staff member checked the list again. "According to our system, you were registered as scheduled to accompany them, but we received instructions for a last-minute cancellation." Emily turned back toward her family. Robert, Margaret, Jessica, Michael. Everyone had subtle expressions. And in those expressions, Emily found the truth. They knew. They had known from the beginning. "This must be some mistake," Emily tried to explain to the staff member. But at that moment, Jessica smiled with satisfaction. "Emily, thank you so much. Right on schedule." Margaret also grinned and said, "Since you weren't invited anyway, at least you were useful." In Emily's mind, all the pieces came together. This wasn't an accident. It was planned. Her family never intended to invite her on the trip from the beginning. Moreover, they had deliberately put her name on the reservation and cancelled it at the last minute to humiliate her. They had called her to the airport under the pretense of seeing them off, forced her into a babysitter role, and finally delivered this blow. "Have a wonderful trip," Emily whispered quietly. Those words had superficial kindness, but something else was embedded beneath. The family smiled with satisfaction and walked toward the boarding gate. Only Emma looked back and waved her small hand. Emily stood there alone. The travelers around her moved busily back and forth, and no one noticed her situation. The airport staff looked at her apologetically. "Ma'am, is there anything I can help you with?" Emily took a deep breath and turned to the staff member. "No, I'm fine. Thank you." She took out her cell phone and sent a short message to someone. Then, from the airport's large windows, she watched the plane carrying her family head toward the runway. By the time that plane soared into the sky, a small smile appeared on Emily's lips. It wasn't a smile of sadness. Nor was it a smile of anger. It was the quiet, determined smile of someone who had understood something important. Walking toward the airport parking lot, Emily thought deeply about her life. What happened today was the culmination of years of relationships with her family. And at the same time, it was also a new beginning. Before getting into her car, Emily took out her cell phone again. This time she made a call. "Hello? This is Emily Williams. I'd like to discuss that matter we talked about. Do you have time this afternoon?" When the person on the other end confirmed, Emily continued. "Wonderful. Then let's meet at 2 o'clock. "Yes, everything is ready." After hanging up, Emily gripped the steering wheel and looked up at the sky. The plane carrying her family was now just a small dot. "Have a wonderful trip," she whispered again. This time, the words were truly from her heart. The afternoon sun in Hawaii painted the resort hotel on Waikiki Beach golden. The Montgomery family had checked into a luxurious ocean view suite and each was immersed in the excitement of travel. Jessica was looking out from the wide balcony at the emerald green sea, remembering this morning's events at the airport with a satisfied smile. It really went well, Jessica said to Michael. Did you see Emily's face? That confused expression. Michael sat on the sofa drinking beer while answering. Wasn't that going a bit too far? What are you talking about? That girl always thinks she's special. Just because she's successful at work, she looks down on the family. Jessica's voice carried years of jealousy. This time was good medicine for her. In the next room, Margaret and Robert were organizing luggage with Emma. Margaret was inwardly relieved that her daughter's plan had succeeded. Emily was certainly excellent, but she always made remarks that disturbed family harmony. If the single Emily had participated in the family trip, everyone would probably have had to be considerate. When is Aunt Emily coming? Emma asked innocently. Margaret patted her granddaughter's head while answering. Aunt Emily has work so she can't come. But let's all make wonderful memories together. Dinner was to be taken at the hotel's high-class restaurant. The whole family dressed up and sat at the table. The Hawaiian sunset streamed through the windows, truly a perfect scene from a family vacation. In the middle of the meal, the hotel concierge approached their table. Excuse me, Mr. Montgomery. There's a delivery for Michael Montgomery. Michael received the envelope with a surprised expression. For me? But who knows where I am? The envelope had only Michael's name written in beautiful cursive. There was no return address. Open it, Jessica said with interest. Michael opened the envelope. Photos and a letter came out. The moment he saw the first photo, Michael's face turned pale. The photo showed Michael having an intimate dinner with a young woman at a restaurant. The woman was Amanda, a colleague from the law firm. The date on the photo was from last month. Jessica tried to peek at the photo. What photo? Michael tried to hide the photo in panic, but it was too late. Jessica snatched the photo and confirmed its contents. What is this? Jessica's voice trembled. The second photo showed Michael and Amanda embracing in a hotel lobby. The third was of them entering Michael's apartment together. And the fourth showed Amanda leaving the apartment in the morning, wearing Michael's shirt. Other customers in the restaurant began looking toward their table. Jessica's voice was getting louder. Michael, what is this? Explain. Michael answered while sweating. Jessica, this is a misunderstanding. It was a work meeting. You embrace at work meetings? She wears your shirt? Jessica's voice became hysterical. Robert and Margaret were confused, and Emma began crying, frightened by her mother's behavior. Michael's face turned even paler when he read the letter. The letter detailed his affair with Amanda. The dates, times, and locations of secret meetings over the past 6 months, and even parts of their conversations were recorded. Moreover, this information was frighteningly accurate. Who could have done this? Michael whispered in a trembling voice. At the end of the letter was a short message, have a wonderful family trip. The truth always comes to light eventually. E.W. Jessica saw that signature and her face turned white. E.W.? Emily Williams? That can't be, Margaret gasped. Jessica took out her cell phone and called Emily's number. But it went to voicemail. She tried calling back several times, but Emily didn't answer. That woman was spying on us, Jessica trembled with anger and fear. How could she do such a thing? Michael held his head. I'm finished. If the law firm learns about this. You're worried about your career at a time like this? Jessica screamed. What about our marriage? What about Emma? The restaurant manager approached and urged them to speak quietly. But Jessica could no longer control herself. 3 years. For 3 years, I played the perfect wife. And you were with another woman. Jessica, please. Let's not talk about this here, Michael said, concerned about the surroundings. Stop. You should have stopped the affair. Emma's crying grew louder, and the other customers no longer tried to hide their staring. Robert picked up his granddaughter and tried to leave the restaurant. "Let's go back to the room," Margaret suggested. Back in the room, Jessica began packing. "We're going home. Right now." "But the trip just started," Robert said in confusion. "Trip? Where's the trip in this?" "My life is over," Jessica cried and screamed. "Emily deceived us. That woman knew everything and brought us here to humiliate us." Michael sat silently. His relationship with Amanda was indeed true. But he couldn't understand how Emily knew about it or how she had gathered evidence. "Let's go home on the first flight tomorrow morning," Margaret said in a tired voice. "Why? Why did Emily do this?" Jessica was confused. "We're sisters. We're family." But when she remembered what she had done to Emily at the airport that morning, the answer became clear. Years of disregard, this morning's humiliation, and above all, the consequences of not treating Emily as family. That night, the family spent sleepless hours. Outside, the sound of waves could be heard, but no one could feel its beauty. The next morning, they hurriedly packed and headed to the airport. Hawaii's blue sky was still beautiful, but for the Montgomery family, this trip had become a nightmare. On the plane, Jessica stared out the window and thought. Emily wasn't just someone seeing them off. She had planned this moment from the beginning. And that plan was executed perfectly. 3 months later, Emily stood in front of her family home's entrance. The house she was visiting after a long time seemed wrapped in more silence than before. When she rang the doorbell, Margaret appeared with a tired expression. Emily, her mother's voice carried complex emotions. "Come in." In the living room, Robert was reading a newspaper. When he saw his daughter, he showed a troubled smile. And from the back room, small footsteps could be heard. "Aunt Emily." Emma came running and jumped into Emily's arms. Her 3-year-old niece was as adorable as ever, but there seemed to be a somewhat lonely shadow. Emily gently embraced her while sensing changes in the house. "Where's Jessica?" Emily asked. "She's upstairs. Organizing divorce papers," Margaret sighed. "She has a meeting with a lawyer tomorrow." After returning from Hawaii, Jessica and Michael's marriage rapidly fell apart. Michael's affair became a problem within the law firm too, and he was forced to resign. Jessica returned to her family home and was trying to start a new life with Emma, but the psychological damage was severe. "Emma, how is your mother?" Emily gently asked her niece. "Mama's always crying," Emma answered in a small voice. "Isn't Papa coming back?" Emily's heart ached. She had certainly created this situation. But it was also the inevitable result of years of disregard and humiliation. Footsteps were heard from the stairs, and Jessica came down. She was thin and had lost her former radiance. The sisters faced each other awkwardly. "Emily," Jessica's voice was weak. "Thank you for coming." "Jessica," Emily answered quietly. "I have something to discuss." The two moved to the kitchen and sat facing each other. After a long silence, Jessica spoke. "How did you know?" "About Michael. I hired a private investigator." "Starting 2 months ago," Emily answered frankly. "When you all treated me humiliatingly at the airport, something changed." "It was revenge, wasn't it?" "At first, yes," Emily admitted. "But now it's different." Thinking about Emma, this might have been for the best. Jessica began to cry. "We were terrible, weren't we? That day at the airport." "Yes, it was terrible. But that was the culmination of what had been going on for a long time," Emily continued in a gentle tone. "I never had a place in the family. Because I was single, because I didn't have children, because I didn't fit the ideal woman image." "I'm sorry," Jessica said with a trembling voice. Emily stood up and looked out the window. Fallen leaves were dancing in the yard. "But now I understand. A real family isn't just about blood relations. Trust, love, and respecting each other, that's what makes a real family." Jessica looked up. What about Emma? Emma is my precious niece. That child is innocent. Emily turned around. I want to spend time with Emma every weekend. While you start your new life, I'll support you. Hope lit up in Jessica's eyes. Really? Of course. But there's a condition, Emily continued with a serious expression. This time, let's truly become a real family. A family that respects and supports each other. From that weekend on, Emily began spending time regularly with Emma. They went to the zoo, watched movies, and cooked together. Emma gradually regained her brightness and began saying, "I like Aunt Emily the best." Jessica started attending vocational training school and prepared for an independent life. Emily supported her as both a sister and a friend. One Sunday afternoon, Emily was playing with Emma in the park. Watching Emma laugh while riding the swing, Emily felt deep satisfaction. "Aunt Emily, are we family?" Emma asked innocently. "Yes, Emma. We're a special family," Emily smiled. "We have blood connections, but more than that, we're a family connected by love." As the sunset painted the park golden, Emily thought about her life. The events that began with revenge ultimately taught her the true meaning of family. It might not be perfect, but now she had a niece she loved and family relationships that were beginning to change. That was the most valuable treasure for Emily.